I never thought I'd be the kind of woman to keep secrets from my own family. For most of my life, I prided myself on honesty, on being the one everyone could count on for the truth, even when it was hard to hear. But as I got older, I realized that sometimes, a little privacy is a form of self-preservation. That's how I ended up buying a condo in secret. A quiet place just for me, a sanctuary away from the noise and demands of family life. It started innocently enough. My son, Michael, and his wife, Priya, had been living with me for almost 2 years. What was supposed to be a temporary arrangement after Michael lost his job had stretched on until my once peaceful home felt crowded and chaotic. I loved them both, truly, but I missed my solitude. I missed waking up to silence, reading a book without interruption, making tea in the middle of the night without worrying about waking anyone. I never told them how much I longed for my own space again. I didn't want to seem ungrateful or unkind. Michael was my only child, and after his father passed, we'd grown even closer. Priya was sweet, always offering to help around the house, but she had a way of taking over, rearranging my kitchen, inviting her family over without asking, making decisions as if the house belonged to her. I tried to be patient, to remind myself that family means compromise, but some days I felt like a guest in my own home. One afternoon, after a particularly exhausting week, I found myself wandering through a quiet neighborhood on the other side of town. I passed a new condo building, its windows gleaming in the sunlight, and felt a sudden urge to step inside. The lobby was cool and quiet, the air scented with fresh paint and possibility. A friendly realtor greeted me, and before I knew it, I was touring a sunlit unit on the 3rd floor. It was small but perfect. 1 bedroom, a cozy living room, balcony overlooking a garden. I could picture myself there, sipping coffee in the mornings, listening to the birds, finally at peace. I didn't tell anyone about the visit. I went back the next day, and the day after that, each time falling a little more in love with the idea of a place that was mine alone. The decision came quietly, almost without thought. I made an offer, signed the papers, and arranged for the keys to be delivered to me at work. I told myself it was just a backup plan, a safety net in case things at home became unbearable, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. It was a gift to myself, a promise that I still mattered, that my needs were important too. For weeks, I kept the secret. I visited the condo on my lunch breaks, bringing small things each time. A set of dishes, a favorite blanket, a stack of books. I furnished it slowly, savoring the freedom of choosing everything myself. No one to second-guess my taste, no one to move my things or fill the closets with their own. I felt a little guilty, but mostly I felt alive, like I was reclaiming a part of myself I'd lost. Then, one evening, everything changed. It was a Friday night, and Priya was hosting her family for dinner, again. The house was filled with laughter and the smell of spices, but I felt like an outsider, hovering at the edge of my own living room. I escaped to the backyard, needing a moment of quiet, and overheard Priya on the phone. Her voice was low, urgent, and I almost turned away, not wanting to eavesdrop. But then I heard my name. "She doesn't suspect a thing," Priya was saying. "Once she signs the condo over to Michael, we'll have a place for my parents. It's perfect. She'll think it's for her, but we'll convince her it's better for the family." I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I pressed myself against the wall, listening as Priya continued. "She's so sentimental, she'll do anything for Michael. We just have to be patient. Once the paperwork is done, my parents can move in. It'll be our place, not hers." I felt sick. The condo, my secret sanctuary, wasn't a secret after all. Priya had somehow found out, and now she was plotting to use it for her own family. I wanted to storm inside, to confront her, to demand an explanation. But I stayed where I was, my mind racing. I realized, with a cold clarity, that I had been naive. I had trusted too easily, loved too blindly. I had let my desire for peace blind me to the truth. That night, I barely slept. I lay awake, replaying Priya's words over and over. I thought about all the little things I had ignored, the way she asked about my finances, the way she hinted that Michael deserved more, the way she talked about family as if it only meant hers. I wondered how long she had been planning this, how much Michael knew, whether he was in on it or just caught in the middle. The next morning, I made a decision. I would not let anyone take what was mine. I would not let myself be manipulated, not again. I had spent too many years putting everyone else first, sacrificing my happiness for the sake of family. This time I would stand up for myself. I woke up early, the house still and quiet, the only sound the distant hum of traffic outside. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands wrapped around a mug of tea, and tried to steady my thoughts. I knew I couldn't confront Priya without a plan. I needed to be smart, to protect myself and the condo I'd worked so hard for. I thought about all the times I'd let things slide, all the times I'd bitten my tongue for the sake of peace. Not this time. I started by gathering every document related to the condo, purchase agreements, mortgage statements, insurance papers. I made copies and stored them in a safe deposit box at the bank, along with a letter explaining everything, just in case. I changed the locks on the condo, something I'd meant to do anyway, and made sure the building manager knew not to let anyone in without my permission. I even set up mail forwarding so nothing important would ever be sent to my house. For the next few days, I watched Priya closely. She was as cheerful as ever, bustling around the kitchen, chatting with her family on the phone, making plans for the weekend. But now, every word, every gesture, felt calculated. I wondered how much Michael knew. He seemed distracted, tired, but I couldn't tell if it was because of work or something more. I wanted to ask him, to warn him, but I didn't want to believe he could be part of something so cruel. Instead, I focused on myself. I spent more time at the condo, fixing it up, making it truly mine. I bought a small table for the balcony, a set of wind chimes that sang in the afternoon breeze. I filled the shelves with books, hung paintings on the walls, planted herbs in the kitchen window. Each day, the space felt more like home, a place where I could breathe and be myself. One afternoon, as I was unpacking a box of old photographs, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Priya. "Can you meet me for coffee? I have something to discuss." My stomach twisted, but I agreed. I needed to know what she was planning, needed to hear it from her own lips. We met at a small cafe near the park, a place I'd always loved for its quiet corners and strong coffee. Priya arrived right on time, her smile bright, her eyes sharp. She wasted no time with small talk. "I know about the condo," she said, her voice low. "Michael told me. He thought it was a good idea, but I think it could be even better, for all of us." I kept my face neutral, my hands steady on the cup. "What do you mean?" She leaned in, her tone conspiratorial. "My parents are getting older. They need a place to stay, and it would mean so much to me if we could use the condo for them. You'd still have your home here, and Michael and I could help take care of everything. It's the perfect solution." I stared at her, stunned by her audacity. "So you want me to give up my condo? The one I bought for myself?" She shrugged, as if it were the most reasonable request in the world. "It's just sitting there, and you're hardly ever there. Think about how much it would mean to my family. We're all one family now, aren't we?" I felt a surge of anger, hot and sharp. For years I had tried to be generous, to welcome Priya and her family into my life, but this was too much. This was my line in the sand. "I bought that condo for me," I said quietly. "It's not a spare room for your parents. It's my home, my sanctuary. I'm sorry if that disappoints you, but I won't be giving it up." Priya's smile faltered, her eyes narrowing. "I just thought you'd want to help. Michael's your son. Don't you want him to be happy?" I met her gaze, refusing to back down. "Michael's happiness doesn't depend on me giving up everything I have. I've spent my whole life putting others first. This time, I'm choosing myself." She sat back, her expression unreadable. "I see. Well, I hope you'll reconsider." I finished my coffee in silence, my heart pounding. When I left the cafe, I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I had stood up for myself, and it felt good. That evening, Michael came home late. He looked tired, his shoulders slumped, his eyes shadowed. I waited until Priya was out of the room before I spoke. "Michael, can I ask you something?" I said gently. He nodded, sinking into a chair. "Of course, Mom. What's on your mind?" I hesitated, searching his face for any sign of deception. "Did you know Priya wanted to use the condo for her parents?" He looked surprised, then guilty. "She mentioned it, but I told her it was your place, not ours. I never agreed to anything. I'm sorry if she made you uncomfortable." Relief flooded through me, mixed with sadness. "I just needed to hear it from you. I bought that condo because I needed a place of my own. I hope you understand." He reached across the table, squeezing my hand. I do, Mom. I really do. I want you to be happy. For the first time in a long time, I believed him. After that conversation with Michael, something shifted in our home. The air felt clearer, the tension that had been simmering for months finally beginning to dissipate. I could see the relief in his eyes, the way his shoulders relaxed when he realized I wasn't angry with him. For the first time in a long while, we talked openly about his work, his worries, even about Priya. He admitted that he'd felt caught in the middle, torn between his wife's expectations and his loyalty to me. I told him I understood, that I didn't blame him, but that I needed to protect my own happiness too. Priya, on the other hand, grew distant. She was polite, but her warmth had cooled. She stopped inviting her family over as often, and I noticed she spent more time out of the house, meeting friends or running errands. I wondered if she was angry or simply embarrassed that her plan hadn't worked. Part of me felt sorry for her. She was used to getting her way. I knew it must have stung to be told no. But I didn't regret my decision. For the first time in years, I felt like I was living life on my own terms. I spent more and more time at the condo, turning it into a true reflection of myself. I painted the walls a soft sage green, hung curtains that fluttered in the breeze, and filled the rooms with things that made me happy. Framed photos of my travels, a collection of teapots, stacks of novels waiting to be read. I invited friends over for tea, hosted book club meetings, and even started a small herb garden on the balcony. The condo became my sanctuary, a place where I could breathe and dream and simply be. One Saturday morning, as I was watering my plants, I heard a knock at the door. To my surprise, it was Priya. She stood in the hallway, her expression uncertain, a box of pastries in her hands. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded, stepping aside to let her in. She looked around, taking in the cozy space, the sunlight streaming through the windows. For a moment, she seemed lost for words. "I wanted to apologize," she said finally, setting the pastries on the table. "I shouldn't have tried to take this place from you. I wanted to help my parents, and I thought it would be easier if we all worked together. But I see now that I was wrong." Her words surprised me. I had expected anger or resentment, not humility. I poured us both a cup of tea and sat down across from her. "I understand wanting to help your family," I said gently, "but I needed this for myself. I needed a place that was just mine." She nodded, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I know. I think I was jealous, honestly. You have something I've never had, a place that's truly yours. I'm sorry for trying to take that away." We sat in silence for a while, sipping our tea, the tension between us slowly melting away. I realized that Priya wasn't the villain I'd made her out to be in my mind. She was just a woman trying to do her best for the people she loved, just like me. After that day, things improved between us. Priya became more considerate, asking before making plans, including me in decisions about the house. She even started inviting me to join her and Michael for dinner, making an effort to bridge the gap that had grown between us. I appreciated her efforts, and I tried to meet her halfway too. Michael noticed the change and thanked me for giving Priya another chance. "She's learning," he said with a smile. "We all are." As the months passed, I found a new balance between my two homes. I spent weekdays at the condo, enjoying my independence, and weekends at the house, sharing meals and laughter with Michael and Priya. I realized that I didn't have to choose between solitude and family. I could have both, in my own way. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, Michael turned to me. "I'm proud of you, Mom," he said softly. "You taught me that it's okay to stand up for yourself even when it's hard. I hope I can be as brave as you someday." His words filled me with a quiet pride. I had spent so many years doubting myself, wondering if I was doing the right thing, but now I knew that I had made the right choice, not just for me, but for all of us. I looked at my son, at the man he had become, and felt a surge of gratitude. Life hadn't turned out the way I'd planned, but it was good. I had a home of my own, a family that loved me, and the strength to protect what mattered most. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, I realized that secrets don't have to be a burden. Sometimes they're a way of taking care of yourself, of carving out a space in the world that's just for you. And sometimes, when you finally share those secrets, you find understanding and forgiveness where you least expect it. The seasons changed, and with them, so did the rhythm of my life. I found myself looking forward to the quiet mornings in my condo, the way the sunlight spilled across the kitchen table, the gentle hum of the city below. I cherished the freedom to set my own schedule, to spend hours lost in a book or tending to my little balcony garden. I even started painting again, something I hadn't done since Michael was a child. Each brushstroke felt like a reclaiming of myself, a celebration of the woman I was becoming. But I also found new joy in my weekends with Michael and Priya. Our relationship, once strained and uncertain, grew warmer and more genuine. We cooked together, tried new recipes, and shared stories over long dinners. Sometimes Priya's parents would join us, and I saw them in a new light, not as a threat, but as people with their own hopes and worries. We laughed about our cultural differences, swapped family recipes, and even planned a small holiday celebration together. The house felt alive again, not with tension, but with the kind of comfort that comes from understanding and acceptance. One Sunday afternoon, as we sat around the table after lunch, Priya's father turned to me. "You are a strong woman," he said, his voice gentle. "You remind me of my own mother. She always made sure to keep something for herself, even when she gave so much to others." His words touched me deeply. I realized that in some ways, we were all just trying to find our place in the world, to hold on to the things that made us feel safe and whole. Michael, too, seemed lighter. He talked more openly about his dreams, his fears, and the pressures he felt to provide for everyone. One evening, as we washed dishes together, he confided, "I was afraid you'd be angry with me for not standing up to Priya sooner, but I just didn't want to disappoint anyone." I squeezed his hand, understanding all too well the burden of wanting to please everyone. "You don't have to carry it all, Michael," I told him. "It's okay to ask for what you need too." Priya and I found a new respect for each other. She began to share more of her own struggles, her worries about her parents' health, her fears about starting a family, her longing for a sense of belonging. I listened, offering advice when she asked, but mostly just being there. Our conversations grew more honest, less guarded. We were no longer rivals, but women learning to navigate the complexities of family together. As the holidays approached, I decided to host a small gathering at my condo. I invited Michael and Priya, her parents, and a few close friends. I cooked my favorite dishes, decorated the space with candles and fresh flowers, and played soft music in the background. The condo, once my secret escape, was now filled with laughter and warmth. I watched as everyone mingled, sharing stories and food, and felt a deep sense of contentment. During dinner, Priya raised her glass for a toast. "To family," she said, her eyes meeting mine. "Not just the one we're born into, but the one we choose, and the one we build together." Everyone clinked glasses, and I felt tears prick my eyes. It hadn't been an easy journey, but we had found our way. After the guests left, Michael lingered behind. He looked around the condo, taking in the art on the walls, the books on the shelves, the little touches that made the space uniquely mine. "I'm glad you have this place, Mom," he said quietly. "You deserve it." I smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude. "Thank you, Michael. I hope you know you'll always have a place here too." He hugged me, and for a moment, I was reminded of the little boy who used to run into my arms after school, his face flushed with excitement. I realized that no matter how much things changed, some bonds would always remain. As winter settled in, I reflected on everything that had happened. I thought about the fear and uncertainty I'd felt when I first bought the condo. The betrayal I'd experienced when I overheard Priya's plan, too. The courage it took to stand up for myself. I thought about the forgiveness and understanding that had grown between us, the new sense of balance I'd found in my life. I realized that in protecting my own happiness, I had given my family permission to do the same. We were all learning to set boundaries, to ask for what we needed, to respect each other's choices. It wasn't always easy, but it was real. And that, I decided, was enough. One snowy evening, as I sat by the window with a cup of tea, I watched the city lights twinkle against the dark sky. I felt a sense of peace settle over me, a quiet confidence that I could handle whatever came next. I had faced disappointment, manipulation, and fear, but I had come out the other side stronger and more sure of myself. I knew there would be challenges ahead, moments of doubt and conflict, but I also knew that I had the strength to protect what mattered, to stand up for myself, and to open my heart to forgiveness and love. Spring arrived with a gentle promise of renewal. The city thawed, and so did the last traces of tension in my heart. I spent more time at the condo's balcony, watching the garden below come alive with color. Sometimes I'd invite Priya for tea, and we'd sit together, talking about everything and nothing, letting the past rest quietly between us. There was a new ease in our conversations, a sense that we had both grown, separately and together. Michael visited often, sometimes alone, sometimes with Priya. He'd bring pastries from the bakery near his office, and we'd sit at my little kitchen table, reminiscing about his childhood or planning family trips. I saw in him a man who was learning, just as I was, to balance love for his family with love for himself. I was proud of him, not just for his successes, but for his willingness to listen, to change, to admit when he was wrong. One afternoon, Priya's parents came to visit the condo. I welcomed them warmly, offering tea and homemade cake. They admired the space, complimented my garden, and shared stories of their own youth. There was no mention of moving in, no hint of old schemes, just gratitude for being included, for being seen. I realized then that sometimes, what people want most is not a place to live, but a place to belong. As the months passed, I continued to nurture my own dreams. I joined an art class at the community center, where I met women from all walks of life, each with her own story of struggle and resilience. We painted together, laughed together, and supported each other through life's ups and downs. My world grew larger, richer, more colorful. I also became more involved in the neighborhood, volunteering at the local library and helping organize community events. I found joy in giving back and being part of something bigger than myself. The condo, once my secret, had become a hub of connection, a place where friends gathered, where family felt welcome, where I could be both independent and deeply rooted. Looking back, I saw how much I had changed. I was no longer the woman who kept quiet to keep the peace, who sacrificed her own happiness for the sake of others. I had learned to speak up, to set boundaries, to trust my instincts. I had learned that it was not selfish to want something for myself, that in fact, it was necessary. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of gold, Michael and Priya joined me on the balcony. We watched the city lights flicker on, the world settling into dusk. Michael turned to me, his voice soft. "Thank you, Mom, for everything, for teaching us what it means to stand up for yourself, and for showing us that family is about respect as much as love." Priya nodded, her eyes shining. "I'm grateful for your patience, and for giving me a second chance. I hope we can keep building this family together." I smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. "We already are," I said. "We're all learning, and that's what matters." As night fell, I realized that the secret condo had given me more than just a place to escape. It had given me the courage to claim my own happiness, the wisdom to forgive, and the strength to build bridges where walls once stood. I had discovered that true family is not about control or sacrifice, but about understanding, respect, and the freedom to be yourself. If you're listening to my story, if you've ever felt like you had to hide your dreams or give up your happiness for someone else, I want you to know this: you are allowed to want more. You are allowed to protect what's yours, and you are allowed to build a life that feels like home. I bought a condo in secret, thinking it would be my escape. Instead, it became the foundation for a new chapter, a chapter filled with honesty, growth, and love. I learned that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. And when you do, you just might find that the people who truly love you will choose you too.